What if I told you one of the biggest statistical jumps in the entire NBA is happening right now and almost nobody is paying attention?
Started with Keyonte George, who deserves to be an all-star.
Keyonte George, he is our overall winner.
The guy I was dead wrong about, Keyonte George.
The basketball world has basically shrugged and kept scrolling. That's a mistake, because this isn't good stats on a bad team. When you actually break down what George is doing, the efficiency jumps, the shot profile changes, the decision-making leap, it becomes clear this isn't random production. We're watching a real transformation happening in real time, and almost nobody is noticing.
Stop and go, dribble drive, step back, elbow.
Take back!
Through his first 2 seasons, Keyonte George looked like anything but a franchise cornerstone. He was a sub 40% shooter, flirting with the dreaded modern label of no defense volume scorer, the worst archetype you can be as a young guard trying to lead a team.
Keyonte, the runner at the horn, and throws it home.
Fast forward to January 2026, and George, who's been on an absolute heater, suddenly has a real all-star case, and honestly, should probably be the co-favourite with Deni Avdija for most improved player. And the year 2 to year 3 jump doesn't even look like the same player. Points per game from 16.8 on 39% shooting to 24.2 on 45.5%. Free throws from 81% on a little over 4 attempts to 90% on 7 attempts. That 90% mark, that's top 6 in the entire NBA. When you add elite free throw volume and elite free throw efficiency, you become a different kind of scorer overnight. And it's not just raw scoring. Rebounds up, assists up, steals up. But the advanced numbers tell the real story. His offensive rating, true shooting, and assist percentage are all up. His usage is up, his turnover percentage is down. Translation: Utah is asking him to do more with the ball, without the ball, late in games, and he's doing it better than ever before. George is simply harder to guard now. He's always had that shifty, smooth gear, but his first step is more efficient. His handle is tighter, and defenders can't sag anymore because his shooting now commands respect. That pressure opens up everything else. He's a smooth finisher with either hand. Contact doesn't bother him. He's starting to seek it, which is exactly why his free throw numbers are exploding. Give him a bump and he's going through it. His 3-point volume is actually down from last season. He's just making more of them. 37% this year, up from 34%. At the rim, same story. Efficiency up, frequency roughly the same. But the real growth is in the mid-range. Last season, George took 4.6 shots per game from between the restricted area and the 3-point line. This season, almost 8 per game. And he's hitting them at 45%, up from 39% last year per cleaning the glass. That's a shot profile evolution, not just hot shooting. A lot of those looks come out of 2-man action, especially with use of Nurkic. And if you squint hard, you can see flashes of the same chemistry structure that makes Jokic and Jamal Murray the best 2-man game in basketball. Nurkic obviously isn't Jokic, but schematically, the role is similar. Decision-making hub, screening gravity, interior passing. George thrives in that structure. He's a great pick-and-roll player, but what separates him is that he's also dangerous off the ball. He moves instinctively, he relocates, he punishes help. That's something a lot of ball-dominant guards don't have. This season, 1.22 points per possession on catch and shoots, over 50% on spot-up threes per synergy, up from 1.06 per possession and 35% last season. That's not a small improvement, that's a profile shift. And this isn't empty production. Utah stays competitive late in games, sometimes more competitive than the front office probably wants, and George is becoming one of their most reliable closers. Unpredictable ranks him 9th in the league in clutch win probability added and 10th in overall win probability. For these calculations, context matters. A second quarter bucket isn't the same as a fourth quarter bucket. A 1-possession shot isn't the same as a random 3 in transition. George is making high leverage shots on a consistent basis.
Keyonte splits in the paint. Got it! Got it! Keyonte! With 2.1 to play against the beast of the East.
So the question isn't if something changed. The question is what actually caused the leap. Because players don't make jumps like this by accident. Keyonte George has always been known as a scorer, but from day one, head coach Will Hardy put him in an uncomfortable place. As a rookie, Hardy asked George to play point guard, a role that demanded structure, communication, and accountability. Hardy coached him hard and pushed him to be vocal. George started 44 of 75 games, averaging 13 points and 4.4 assists, but the growing pains were obvious. Year 2 was even tougher. George averaged 16.8 points, 5.6 assists, and 3.8 rebounds, starting 35 of 67 games, but the headlines weren't about growth, they were about inconsistency. He was benched multiple times for mental and defensive lapses. He lost his starting spot to Isaiah Collier and Colin Sexton. Around the league and within the organisation, the label started to form. Talented, but stubborn, immature at times. Something had to change. After last season, Hardy called George into his office for what described as a powerful and at times emotional meeting. Hardy described having a raw, honest conversation with Keyonte. Not yelling, not screaming, but real back and forth. The message was simple. Belief from a coach only goes so far unless the player wants more and demands more from himself. Hardy made it clear that his belief in Keyonte has never wavered, and he's paying close attention because he cares and sees what he can become. That conversation was about leveling with each other in the process, reaffirming that they're in this together and making it clear that Hardy isn't backing off, stepping away, or abandoning him. He committed to being right there with him, pushing, supporting, and fighting alongside him until they get where they want to be. George felt it immediately. The relationship between Keyonte and Will Hardy has clearly gone to another level. By Keyonte's own account, his exit interview was brutal, honest, direct, and exactly what he needed. Hardy doesn't sugarcoat things. He'll call late at night, say something as simple as play defense, and hang up. But that bluntness has turned into real dialogue. There are moments Hardy doesn't like something, moments where Keyonte explains what he was seeing and what the group was thinking, and they meet in the middle. That trust matters because of the role Keyonte is playing. On the floor, he's essentially a second version of Hardy. The coach can't be out there, so George is thinking for the group, trying to execute what Hardy wants on every single possession. And compared to his first 2 years, that relationship is completely different now. It's more demanding, more honest, and much more connected. Hardy boiled the message down to something simple and uncomfortable. It starts with how he treats himself and what he expects from himself, and George fully leaned into it. A month after that meeting, Hardy noticed something different. George wasn't taking days off. He was in the facility constantly, working on his body, his handle, his reads, everything. Another major influence was Dr. Ronald Kimmons, the Jazz's VP of Player Wellness. As a clinical sports psychology consultant, Kimmons helped George and the rest of Utah's young core grow off the floor. George credits him as instrumental in reshaping his mindset. But the shift wasn't just internal. George made a point to strengthen his bond with teammates. He organised a team trip to his hometown Dallas for workouts and events. He reached out to Lauri Markkanen to spend more time off the court with him in Finland. Quietly, intentionally, he began stepping into leadership. What stood out all summer was commitment. George spent most of the off-season in Utah, not bouncing around, not disappearing. He was present. From workouts to team bonding events to supporting the Jazz Summer League squad, he showed up consistently. That combination, personal work and team investment, led Hardy to describe George as a player who is now very comfortable with his surroundings. And the timing couldn't have been better. Utah reshaped the roster. Colin Sexton and John Collins were traded. Veterans Yusuf Nurkic, Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson were added. Jordan Clarkson was bought out. Rookies Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr. were drafted. With Lauri Markkanen still the top option, the door opened for George to claim the next spot. This time, he didn't hesitate. Because the leap you're seeing now didn't start with a hot shooting stretch. It started with accountability, ownership, and a young guard deciding to expect more from himself than anyone else ever did. But it's one thing to make a normal year-to-year jump. It's another thing to entirely improve almost everywhere at once. That's what made Keyonte George's evolution stand out. George currently leads the Jazz in total assists with 298 on the season, ahead of Isaiah Collier, who just last year set the franchise rookie record with 416 assists. As a team, Utah now ranks second in the NBA in assist percentage, a massive jump from 18th last season. Simply put, George is seeing the floor better than he ever has. And there's a strong case that Utah throwing him into the deep end early helped make this possible. From day one, the Jazz asked George to run real offense, heavy pick and roll reps, real reads, real responsibility. That early force feeding accelerated the learning curve. What's interesting is that this season, his pick and roll volume is actually down compared to his rookie year, yet his efficiency within those possessions is at its highest point, and that's intentional. Utah has diversified how George gets his touches. He's working more off the ball, attacking on the second side, and stepping into his shots instead of having to create everything from the top. The result? Less burden, better rhythm, and smarter offense. But make no mistake, when George does operate in pick and roll, he looks like a different player. His cadence as a ball handler has taken a step up. He's calmer, less rushed, no longer happy-footed coming off screens. He's reading angles, manipulating defenders, and choosing how to attack instead of feeling like he has to attack immediately. That growth shows up in the numbers. His turnover rate in pick and roll situations is at a career low, even going back to high school. Better ball security, better decision making, and better shot selection, especially inside the arc, have all pushed his on-ball game to a new level. The other major driver of this leap is what George is doing downhill. This is the highest percentage of his shots at the rim since high school. He's drawing free throws at an elite rate for an NBA guard. Inefficient pull-ups have been replaced with pressure on the basket, either finishing or forcing contact. Across the board, George is being asked to do more with and without the ball, and is responding with his best rebounding numbers and improved off-ball defensive play. He's not suddenly a stopper, but the effort is real, the engagement is real, and the little things are showing up more often.
Spins right, baseline Jay, got it in one. That is impressive.
Now, the skepticism. Is this efficiency sustainable, or is this just a hot stretch before George settles back into being a volume scorer on a losing team? There is a version of the future where Utah never truly gets good, and George becomes a high-usage flamethrower, fun to watch, but ultimately inefficient and defensively costly. That archetype exists, and we've seen it before, and the defense has to be addressed. George is more engaged defensively, his rotations are cleaner, and the effort is obvious. Still, when he's on the floor, Utah is getting outscored by nearly 7 points per 100 possessions, with a defense that would rank dead last in the league. Supporters will rightly point out that Utah's defense has cratered without Walker Kessler, who's out for the season, and they're not wrong. But critics can also point to the fact that defense improves by 9 points per 100 possessions when George sits. That's not nothing, and it's a fair concern. Right now, none of this is being magnified because expectations are low. Utah isn't supposed to win. George is still in the honeymoon phase. But when winning starts to matter, when percentages fluctuate, when scouting tightens, his defense will be scrutinized just as heavy as his offense is celebrated now. Stephon Marbury and Monte Ellis put up numbers too. You just weren't winning big with them as your engine. So the questions matter. Can the defense improve? Can the shooting sustain? What happens if Utah trades Lauri Markkanen? Does the context shift underneath him? Those answers will define the next chapter. But zoom out for a second. Keyonte George is averaging 20 points and 6 assists on 46% shooting, has dropped multiple 35-plus point games against strong defenses, and is running one of the most efficient pick-and-roll profiles in basketball. The reason you haven't heard much about it has very little to do with basketball. Utah is a quiet market. The Jazz are scheduled for just 2 national TV games all season, with the first not coming until late January. They're sitting in the lottery, 6 games out of the play-in. That's enough for most people to stop paying attention. But losing teams produce future stars all the time. We just don't notice them until it's already obvious. Is this efficiency a hot stretch, or the moment Keyonte George figured out how to control games at an all-star level? If you think this leap is real, drop a comment and let me know. And subscribe if you want more deep dives on players the national conversation is sleeping on.